where does this leave us? And more importantly, where does it leave Russell Wilson if he continues to want to be traded? As we continue here on Get Up, we got Field, we got Mel, we got Marcus and more. Field, does this mean Russell Wilson is stuck, if you will, staying in Seattle?
Now, I'm not convinced that he is 100% back in Seattle next year as of right now, Greeny. And I think part of the reason why is that the draft was always the most logical time for a deal to potentially be made for Russell Wilson, because the reality for Seattle is it's going to have to be an incredible offer for them to trade away Russell Wilson, given his ability, what he's meant to the franchise, and also the financial side of it. But it's going to most likely only happen if it's a deal rich with draft picks. And of course, the draft hasn't taken place yet. I don't think Seattle would have been motivated by a deal that was made up of high-priced veteran players, because it's hard to afford all of those players when you would potentially be taking a $39 million dead cap charge for Russell Wilson. So not guaranteeing a trade, but I'm also not ruling it out just because 3 of the 4 suitors have at least presumably solve their quarterback situation by investing or reinvesting in a player this offseason.
And so, Marcus, if you're going to do it, if you're Seattle and you're going to trade Russell Wilson, what do you have to get back? What do you need to hear on the other end of the phone in order to give this serious consideration?
First and foremost, G, I don't even care about the draft picks. Obviously, they're important, but you better damn sure get a starter at quarterback. Right? Seattle doesn't want to be in a situation where they trade one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and not get a guy that they can at least see and have evaluated to see if he can have success on their football team. Like this is, and what comes to mind for me, obviously, is the Jets, which I don't think they should get rid of Sam Darnold. But if you bring Russell Wilson into the fold, that's different. And Miami, young quarterback with Tua, who I think is going to develop and be a really good quarterback. And maybe that is something Pete Carroll may entertain as well. Pete Carroll is still of the old school. Pete Carroll wants to have a balanced offense. He wants to run the football. He has Lockett and DK Metcalf on the outside. So those are weapons that can dominate football games. But this is not a situation where you're going to just throw 3 draft picks and some good linebacker or some good safety and get Russell Wilson. Seattle is not in that position. And something else that wasn't planned that I was intrigued by, I know Derek Carr got the talk up from Mayock, but Mayock would talk up Russell Wilson a lot more than he would Derek Carr. So I wouldn't eliminate the Las Vegas Raiders at this point. And Derek Carr is a good enough starter that I think Pete Carroll would entertain.
It's worth considering, but they don't have those high draft picks that some of the other teams that we're talking about do. Mel, what do you think of all of this? Russell Wilson possibly getting traded?
Yeah, I'm listening to all of it. I get back to Sam Darnold. I had Josh Allen ahead of Sam Darnold, but I do like Sam Darnold an awful lot. And I think if you're talking about connections, like about Joe Douglas, Joe Flacco, right? Philadelphia, Joe Flacco now. You think about Pete Carroll, USC, Sam Darnold. And I think that's what I would look at if I'm the Seattle Seahawks, is Sam Darnold as a possibility to bring out there. If I'm going to move on from Russell Wilson, and he's still relatively young, I got to get somebody I really like and I believe in. And let's face it, guys, you don't get somebody from somewhere else because they're not a little broken, okay? One man's trash is another man's treasure. Why is Carson Wentz in Indianapolis? Because he was a little broken. Or he wouldn't be with Frank Reich, and they wouldn't be celebrating that move because they wouldn't get him. So you only get somebody when it's a contractual situation. People would say, well, they were looking at Josh Allen. They were at Josh Allen's pro day, Seattle was, a few years ago, right? So maybe they've been thinking about this for a while, how we're going to do this. We got Russell Wilson cheap for all those years. It's a 3rd-round pick. Now you got to pay him. That affects your roster and the ability to spend for other players. But I'm on Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, if they want to move on Sam Darnold, somebody else in the National Football League is going to get a really good young quarterback.
All right, it's fascinating to see how this goes. And for a player who has struggled as much as he has, albeit with all of the extenuating circumstances, he finds himself in the middle of a lot of big conversations.
Put him in this draft, Greeny. Put him in this draft to be the 2nd pick overall.
He would be the 2nd pick right now ahead of Zach Wilson.
Yes.
Fascinating. Again, Mel's been saying it left and right. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.